well thought out how the plot connects and how everybody ends up being brought together, broken back apart, brought together, broken back apart. And it's the scale at which that they set some of these battles is just, oh, dude, it's crazy, man. Just the
Yeah, my
practicality
own
and the effects and everything, amazing.
my only hesitation with watching it is knowing how it ends and how it just all
Yeah,
falls apart in that last season. So like,
it's oh yeah, it's tragic, but honestly, if you sit there and get into the show, you'll watch the end of the series and you'll just be like, well, I was so satisfied for 7 seasons that I'm just gonna let season 8 be. That's how I ended up
yeah,
being because the first 7 seasons, man, are amazing, and that's why I recommend Westworld more, almost more to you, because
hmm
it's almost annoying to watch Game of Thrones and not enjoy the last season. I actually kind of like the last season, and I understand what went wrong with it, so I can still enjoy it because
hmm
I realize that it still does flow with the continuity of the show, so it kind of worked together. That's my
yeah.
only thing with it. But Westworld is a masterpiece through and through. It goes like it goes like season one. It's like season one, season two, season three. It's ridiculous, dude. They're all just like even and crazy. In the third season, so it's always been a show about artificial intelligence,
hmm
but it starts out as it's amazing because when you watch the whole show through, you kind of see how you everything was like. You're like, how did I not realize it was going to come to this? It's so unpredictable. What happens is it starts out that there's this park, like it's based on a book that was written by the guy who wrote Jurassic Park, Michael Crichton.
Oh
And
yeah.
they made a movie on it way back in the day. But anyways, Westworld is this concept where they have a park, basically type thing, where everybody goes and there are artificially intelligent robots that live there. They wipe their memories all the time. They run them through simulation scenarios where people get to go live out their fantasies in a Western world, basically a
Hmm.
Wild West world. So they call it Westworld, and you're in the Wild West, do whatever you want. There's ladies of the night and all that, da da da. And these characters, like, there's a lady of the night that ends up like being like the leader of the revolution and is the first AI to actually wake up. And they start to find out that the creator of this whole place, him and his partner had different views on where AI should end up going. So his partner, the one partner who believes in AI and believes in his creations, believes that they will be like their own race and they deserve to be. He plants a seed knowing that they will eventually come alive, and then they start to come alive. The whole park falls apart. Freaking the creator of this place, like, people start coming for him because he's like he sees that his partner's creations are coming to alive, and he's like, oh my gosh, I never thought this would happen. But the guy is a genius and just lays everything out. It's one of those shows where like you like, oh, it's just amazing to watch everything happen and come together because you literally watch this a whole species come to life, which is AI. In the third season, which is where we're at now, that just came out last like 2 years ago, they literally get out into the outside world and they're alive. Like they're just, it's crazy, dude. It's nuts, man. Almost becomes like some Matrix type shit. Like they're just out here, like freaking. There's this dude who's trying to like. He has an artificial intelligence that predicts the way the world should go for the world not to end, and he has basically this
hmm
technology that he developed where he monitors it. It's like a little clock type thing, like a watch, and he monitors events around the world. So all types of people get murdered just because, oh snap, we found out that this person, if they live past this certain point or if they do this certain thing, they make the world end. So oppressively ruling the whole world outside, almost like, is almost where it's getting to, just because this technology, this AI, is predicting what will and won't end the world. Turns out that AI was lying the whole time because they actually didn't think it was really alive, and it freaking was. And then the AI that came out of the freaking machine that everybody was trying to kill, and like they're like, no, these things can't live, these things can't escape, these things saves the human race. It's crazy, dude. That's 3 seasons of television, as best as I could explain it.
One of the best part about all that,
Huh.
I hit the recording on
Did
it.
you record all of it? Did you
Yeah,
actually?
it's still recording right now. Yeah,
What? Did I do a good job?
yeah. I mean, I don't care.
No. Did I? I
I
mean,
could very well cut. I could cut this part out, but I mean, I just think it's funny.
that's funny.
All right.
Yeah, that's
So,
kind of cool.
so you want to discuss Shang-Chi first, or
Yeah,
I
let's
guess
go
like
after
we can kind
Shang-Chi.
of. Yeah, I feel like we can kind of compare Shang-Chi to Black Widow, because like that's what we were doing yesterday after we saw it.
Yeah, that was definitely one of my definitely like one of my biggest things after walking out of the theater to watching Shang-Chi was like, okay, what was the last thing that I saw from it? And that was, Black Widow, obviously.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was. I first want to say that I like the move that Marvel made to not do Shang-Chi on Premiere Access. Thought that was cool.
Yeah. I can kind of see why they did it. It felt like a bigger movie compared to Black Widow, especially like the big final act did kind of feel like a little bit rushed with like big like all right, we're having this army versus this army, and then we're going to have this army versus this army, and then we're going to have the armies team up to fight this army. Like it was so fun, but like it definitely felt like big, like more big and epic than like
Mm-hmm.
Black Widow because we all want to see Black Widow fight Harvey Weinstein.
Oh my gosh, yeah, Black Widow was one just like, oh gosh, I was so excited because I wanted to see Scarlett Johansson have her chance to have that movie made. She wanted that ever since the MCU started. And she,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, for lack of a better term, ScarJo spent pretty much her whole time in the MCU getting blue balls, and then they just killed her character. So it's tragic that she couldn't get a solid or like a solid standalone to us,
Yeah.
at least in my
And
view.
like
It was kind
yeah.
of like heartbreaking for me.
Yeah. That's why I think it's the worst MCU movie. It's
You
because
do.
like yeah. So the reason why is because it screws over like Black Widow as a character so hard, who was an awesome character. So like I agree with you like that like just to see her get completely screwed over in this film. Like it wasn't even her film. It was all just to set up Yelena.
Oh my gosh, honestly, it was all just a setup. Yeah, when I saw that end credit scene, that's probably when I got my breaking point with the movie. I was like, they're not even gonna like. I was so upset, and I honestly understand why Disney did that to. They didn't tell Scarlett that they were gonna release her movie as a premiere access.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's like. I think that's another reason, like you were saying, that it felt like a smaller movie is because like that kind of just like that side swipe at the end because I expected it to just be in theaters, with everything that was happening, and
Mhm.
that was kind of strange. Kind of yeah,
Yeah.
just
Plus, like
this
they
is
had the
not my
perfect opportunity for a great solo movie for her. Just like should make a movie about her and Hawkeye, like Budapest and them getting to know each other. Like that would have been like a super easy film to make. It was practically gift wrapped to them.
All right, here's what I'm asking Marvel for. Why couldn't they have just just like you said, I'm gonna build off what you said. Why couldn't we get a Disney? Because I don't know how interested I am in Hawkeye's Disney Plus show. Have you heard about that one?
Yeah. All I know is that like Kate Bishop is gonna be in it, and she's gonna be played by
Yeah,
Haley Steinfeld, and Haley
yeah.
Steinfeld's pretty hot. So
Do you
that's
like
about
Haley Steinfeld too, man? Dude, I love her.
I f-
I'm excited. I'm excited to see her become
yeah.
an MCU character. So that's gonna be cool to watch. But you know what I would have loved to see before that? Because as excited as I am, I wanted to see Hawkeye in action more. And like you mentioned,
Yeah.
the Hawkeye and Black Widow thing, I think that was a lot of untapped potential.
Mm-hmm.
That could have been a great
Like
Disney Plus show, set that back
and
when
it
before they even joined the MCU.
yeah. And even if they made that the movie, it would have made the death like the confrontation between them in Endgame that much like more powerful and like hard hitting.
Honestly, it would have given a lot more value to, the yeah, exactly like you're saying. Yeah, that was an
Marvel.
unfortunate that was an unfortunate handling of the character. Like that all across the board, they handled Black Widow pretty unfortunately.
Yeah.
Now, I'm actually amazed by how they brought out Shang-Chi. Like there were some times where I didn't want to love the movie because I was just like it doesn't really feel like a Marvel superhero movie. Like, it felt more like it wasn't even almost felt like it wasn't even part of the MCU, which I was really hoping for. But
Yeah.
like, remember we were talking before the movie, we were talking about how excited I was at least to see like how the earlier generations of the MCU had led to Shang-Chi being, being
Mm-hmm.
being one of the next generation, being one of the next big steps for the MCU. And we didn't see as much of that, although I think the movie showed us why he's a great character for that. So I thought it was cool.
Yeah. And then I was kind of hoping the opposite, which I ended up getting. That, like, I kind of want it to be more like just its own interperson, like its own movie, and not try to go back and be like, actually, this is what happened and this or
Yeah.
whatever, and like try to
I
retcon and all that.
Oh man, yeah. You were mentioning that. Yeah, you mentioned that before the movie too. We were talking about how some of your least favorite MCU movies have been the ones that they just try to like they make a whole movie to try and like almost like fill a plot hole, like a Rogue One type of a concept. Have you've seen Rogue One,
Yeah,
the Star Wars movie,
yeah,
the Star Wars story? Actually, I think it was called. Yeah,
yeah.
Rogue
A
One.
Star
I
Wars
I, I
story.
loved it, and then at the end, I was just like. I loved it, loved it, loved it, and then we get to the end, and I'm just like, so they're all dead, and I was like, a little bit heartbroken.
I just like the action, and Darth Vader at the end is
hmm
pretty
Oh man,
awesome.
I will say though, I loved Rogue One. I loved the movie, but the concept itself, like just making a whole movie to go back and fill a plot hole. I hope the MCU doesn't, continue to do that too much moving forward.
Yeah.
Because we're out of phase. What was it? Phase three that ended with Endgame. We're out of that now.
Technically, Phase 3 ended with Far From Home because that was the last official one, but
Oh, that's
I
right. That's
consider
right.
Phase
Mhm.
I consider Phase 3 like ending with Endgame.
Yeah, same. That's honestly why I forgot that it ended with Far From Home because Far From Home, it seemed like it did more to lay track for the new MCU than it did to finish up for the old MCU. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But
And
thoughts
like,
on the action in Shang-Chi, man? My gosh, that was pretty cool.
okay, so the kung fu was awesome, and the CGI stuff, like,
Mhm.
I was kind of nervous about that because in a lot of ways, this movie does remind me of Black Panther. I like this movie more than Black Panther,
Mhm.
but like it kind of devolves like into a big
I see what you
CGI
mean, Hidden City.
fight. Yeah, not just that. I mean,
Yeah,
there's like
that's right. Yeah.
superficial comparisons you could make, like oh, there's a white guy with a metallic weapon for weapon for an arm or something like that. Like
hmm
that's like just a dumb comparison you could make.
Yeah,
But
that's funny. Yeah,
it
personally, I love that you made the comparison between this movie and Black Panther because these movies are both big cultural events that we're talking about. Black Panther was like, Disney wanted that to be a cultural event, especially because there was a lot of African American violence at the time, and I mean
mhm.
there has been a trend of it. But I thought it was awesome to I thought it was awesome to see them breathe life into bringing some Asian culture into the MCU as well. With
Yeah.
this, and I just love that. Okay, we've seen we do really well with both. So so far that they've tried to step into those more maybe not so political, but maybe those racial justice shoes, I guess you would call them.
Yeah.
Kind of
I
cool.
don't care
They
if like
they do it
who like
after.
I don't care if like what color skin a person is for like a movie and stuff. Like just make the movie good. Like that's all I care about.
Hmm. Yeah, I love to see when I love to see when we have a movie that's talking about something, but it's also doing something, which is just being a good movie, you know? And that's what Shang-Chi did. It was just like, it was so fun to watch at some points, man. I was really laughing. Like, especially that scene on the bamboo on the side of that building where they're like the big
Oh,
glass
the
building was
bamboo
under
building.
construction, those super tall bamboo structures. Yeah. That was a pretty awesome sequence, honestly. I liked that. And, the bus scene was pretty. That was a pretty good way to start to open up the movie. Honestly,
Yeah. And I gotta admit, I'm a big sucker for like big CGI monsters fighting each other. So seeing the two dragons fight, like, yeah, it's big CGI, but it's big CGI that I'm a sucker for, so I can't really complain that much. And even like the CGI with like the rings and the CGI with the rings and stuff, that was all done super well. Like it was pretty
oh yeah,
creative. I feel like it wasn't just like, oh, we punch each other super hard and stuff. Like he was using the rings to jump up and like use them as like stepping stones and using them to whip each other around and like fire energy blasts. Like I feel like they did more with the rings than they than like a less creative person would have done.
yeah. For it was honestly super cool seeing the rings come to life because I mean I didn't know that they were gonna do the rings that way. But I
Mm-hmm.
think we have a lot more to learn about them. I still believe I still honestly part of me believes that we're gonna be hearing about maybe the real Mandarin, the actual sorcerer. And I mentioned this to you after we saw the movie too. I almost wonder if they're because they mention. Am I allowed to do spoilers on this phone call?
Yeah, because people
Oh yeah. So
people who are watching this have
remember
either seen the movie or they're mad about my predictions
Warren.
video. Yeah.
Well, welcome to the spoiler review. Um,
Yep.
the end credit scene though, when they mentioned that the rings possibly had a beacon in them, that kind of just made me think, okay, there's got to be a sorcerer out there that these belong to, that they're attached to, or something like that. Is the only thing I could think. Other than that, it also gave
I
me
have a different theory.
honestly. Okay, I want to hear this.
All right. So it says a beacon, and they don't know like it older than time or whatever. They don't know what it could possibly be. So I'm thinking because I heard rumors about it, and I still think it could be possible that it's like a beacon for Galactus, like bringing him to Earth, and those rings could have been like a weapon for his one of his heralds. So we'll just see. Probably not, but it'd be interesting if that's what it was.
Okay, now that right there would be pretty interesting. That is actually a far better theory than mine. I like that. Yeah, that's you honestly because we're gonna be we're gonna be
We'll see
seeing
Galactus
fantastic.
at some point.
Yeah, we're gonna be seeing Fantastic Four. That's probably gonna come before any other big team up in the MCU. I'm sure that. Do you think that's gonna come out before Guardians 3?
No, they would have announced it by now.
Yeah. So what I'm thinking is that I think that Adam Warlock is going to come around in Guardians 3, and I think they're going to do Silver Surfer maybe too, and they're both going to be Heralds of Galactus because they both were at some point.
Maybe for Silver
And
Surfer, but
they will be.
I don't see it for Adam Warlock because he was created by the what's it? The race of the gold people.
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he's created to be like a perfect being, but
Mm-hmm.
I swear he was a.
Maybe in the comics, but I don't think in the MCU. I don't think he's gonna go that route. I mean, maybe.
Don't think so. I'm excited to see his character come around.
Yeah, I don't think
'Cause-
Kang's actually gonna be the big bad. I think
You don't
Galactus is
think so?
gonna be.
I haven't thought so either. I never really thought Kang was going to be the big bad because he's just like he's too. I don't know. Yeah, I just they kind of came out from nowhere with that, and they just put it right in front of our faces. Whereas Thanos, they made it pretty mysterious for a while. You know what I mean? Like not
Yeah.
really
Plus,
mysterious, but it wasn't just like right in front of our faces from the very beginning.
Yeah, I also don't see like Kang being a bigger threat than Thanos with the Infinity Gauntlet. So the only way I can see it is you go Galactus, and especially since they're gonna do Celestials in Eternals. I like how we're doing everything but talking about Shang-Chi.
Oh my gosh, honestly. There was not enough bigger MCU like big picture stuff that was going on in Shang-Chi for us to stay focused on the conversation for too long.
Yeah.
But
Okay, I'll you want to talk about some of the things that like really stuck out to you first, and I'll talk about some of the things that kind of
with
stuck out to
Shang-Chi,
me. Yeah.
yeah, in terms of my review with Shang-Chi, what stuck out to me a lot was just the authenticity of the kung fu. That was super cool to
Mm-hmm.
see because they didn't make it like I was worried that they were going to go like the ninja route with doing way too much of the like kung fu and just letting that be the only backstory for his character. And instead,
Mm-hmm.
we got a really beautiful story that was actually honestly really touched my heart about his family and his mother and his father and his sister. And I think that would just like it gave us a great origin because it was pretty removed from a lot of the beat for beat origin stories that we've seen in the MCU. I would say the origin story reminded me the most of Iron Man, um, in a lot of ways. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I loved some actors and actresses. I didn't love some. I mentioned to you that probably my biggest complaint, the biggest thing that stuck out to me in a negative way, was the acting at some points. And
Yeah.
then the humor really stuck out to me as well. The movie had me laughing. Honestly, that scene with the big creature, like the lion thing, when that guy came up with the taser stick and he like it went like
Oh, and like
zap,
tased
and
him, and
then
then just smacks him across the
oh my
field. Yeah,
god, it was
that
like
was pretty
bzzz,
funny.
and then lion just looks at him. Yeah,
It's like, what are you doing?
he said, "Not a good idea, bud." Yeah,
That's
that
that's
was
the look I
that
give a
was a good one.
mosquito when they bite me. When a mosquito bites me, and I like bring down my hand upon it, like the wrath of God, and
Yeah,
smash it upon my
exactly.
skin.
Oh man, the
Yeah.
dry humor was so well done, and I thought it was funny just because I know that Asians are a big fan. Usually are big with like dry humor, especially like
Yes.
my family and the people that I've been around. I just saw that was like really kept alive in the
My
entire like
grandma's very
vibe of the
much like
movie.
that.
The dry humor was really well done. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, my grandmother
My
was always like
grandma
that. Mhm.
my grandma does not understand like American sarcasm and stuff because
Mhm.
she grew up like spent most of her life in South Korea. Spoilers for
Mhm.
those that you didn't know. I am part Korean. But your daily dose of information. But yeah,
Be
it's
careful,
definitely something
guys.
that you kind of see.
Yeah,
Huh?
that's I thought that was
You,
like I just thought they did a good job, just similar to Black Panther, how they kept the theme of like African American culture. They did it really well in the movie, where it didn't feel like it was over the top. I thought they did the
mhm.
same thing with Asian American culture and Asian culture in general.
Wanna
So
what it
those were
reminded
those
me
are
of?
definitely my standouts.
Yeah.
Huh.
Overall, this like at least the personal journey that Shang-Chi goes through reminded me of a lot from Po
Hmm.
from Kung Fu Panda 2, where they're both kind of like they
Hmm.
don't really know who they are and stuff, but like I think they both do it pretty well.
Honestly, this movie
But
kind of did give me like Kung Fu Panda vibes, and I loved that.
because Kung Fu Panda is amazing.
A
Maybe except
masterpiece.
maybe the third
I
one,
honestly, the third one,
but
yeah, yeah.
third the third one's still fine. It's not like terrible, but
It
yeah.
just,
So
I don't know. If it made it feel dragged out, the third one a little bit, just like it didn't have the same spirit anymore. It felt like.
yeah, I think like how I mean it's a little bit different because obviously like Shang-Chi also had to overcome killing, which I was genuinely shocked that actually happened. Because with
Yeah,
Black Widow,
yeah,
they make a whole point about how there's blood in their ledger and they want to get it out and stuff. But then later you see Yelena, bury the entire prison in an avalanche, and neither one has no remorse. Like I know Natasha didn't have any part to play in it, but she doesn't exactly condone that behavior either.
Mm.
And then later the Red Guardian just like makes jokes about like, oh, how your ledgers are dripping with blood. I'm so proud of you. And I'm just like rolling my eyes like, oh, okay, so like killing someone isn't a big deal to this director and writers and stuff. But like here, when he's like genuinely shooken up and you can tell that's haunted him, that he killed a person, even like a person that justly deserved it. Like it actually scarred him, and I was like genuinely shocked because it feels like everything in Phase 4, there's been no like meaningful impacts for a majority of the characters. Like if they do something like pretty traumatic and big, like it like just doesn't phase them. Whereas like Shang-Chi, I mean killing someone, even if it was at this like a evil mobster and stuff that killed your mom.
Yeah.
At 14, that's still gonna scar you. So that was definitely like, it's one of those little things that a lot of people probably don't really care about, but I care about, and that the fact that that movie took time to address that, and it even kind of showed like just through his whole character that he is kind of happy, but for the most part he's still like pretty shaken up by it. So that's something that I really appreciated. Also,
Honestly.
the villain. If you can call it the villain. I don't want to call him the Mandarin because he's not technically the Mandarin.
One thing I did like about the movie was that they didn't really try too hard to give us like just a big bad guy and then we have the good guy, the bad guy, who will win? Obviously it's the good guy, you know what I mean? There was more to the story than that, and that's I think that was probably the best part of Shang-Chi for me.
Yeah.
MCU movies have
apparently he is
better.
Okay. Apparently he is listed underneath them as the Mandarin in the cast, so I guess I'll refer to him as the Mandarin. But yeah, I like that. Like you said, he's not a good guy. Like as over the years as the leader of the Ten Rings, he's probably done some very messed up stuff. So like I wouldn't call him a good guy in the same way like the Vulture isn't a good guy, but I wouldn't call him like evil. Because you can at least understand like where he's coming from and stuff, and is like I think a less competent writer, if they had like this gate in the Mandarin, they've been like he wants to bring chaos upon the world and stuff, so he's gonna go break down the gates. Whereas him, he's like, no, I want to get my wife back so we can have like our family together and stuff. And it just kind of consumes him.
Yeah, that's what I saw with with his father as the villain. Are we talking about Mandarin referring to his dad, or are we talking about Trevor Slattery, the Mandarin?
Referring to Mandarin as his dad. If we refer to Trevor, we'll just call him Trevor.
Yeah,
you haven't seen.
Haven't seen.
You haven't seen the What If episodes, right? Have you seen any of them yet?
I haven't. No.
Okay, so I'm gonna spoil the 4th episode for you a little, if that's okay.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
It actually. So it's basically the scenario is what if Doctor Strange lost his heart, meaning his girlfriend, instead of his hands. So they're essentially driving in the car on the way to a party, and that's what, like, they get in the car accident and his girlfriend dies. And that's what pushes him to become the Sorcerer Supreme. And eventually he's like, I want to try to bring her back. So eventually he starts taking more drastic measures, using the Time Stone and like literally sucking the power out of like other demons and mystical beings, so that way he can create a spell to bring her back. Like, because her death is a absolute point in time that is critical for him becoming the Sorcerer Supreme. And so you basically see him like become more and more desperate and taking more and more drastic measures. And I thought, because I bet Marvel probably planned the release for this with Shang-Chi. So to see that comparison between the Mandarin and this version of Doctor Strange was
I see
actually
what you mean.
pretty cool. What if once you see the episode, anyone who has seen the episode, you'll know what I'm talking about. I thought that was like a really cool parallel that both of these things came out, and for a lot of people, episode 4 is uh their favorite episode because it goes dark with the episode, and it's just like the Mandarin. So so the parallels between that were just amazing. So I thought that was really cool. I'd say the Mandarin was probably the best character and the best part about the movie, not including the action. The action was pretty good, but I'd say the Mandarin was probably my favorite part.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say that he was so like, for a guy that lived 1,000 years, like he was still so human that it was like it made him grounded in reality and still able to like be it, like you still felt for the story because his connection to, I mean, him being the Shang-Chi's dad and everything, that can get played out, especially in Marvel movies. You know, a family member turns out to be the bad guy or whatever. Friend is the bad guy or whatever. But having that depth to the character as the Mandarin just gave it enough to where the story all linked together and everything still had its impact. The 10 rings, like we were talking about earlier, were super cool to see as well. It was just super creative how they every time they hit something or touched something or every time they were used, you didn't really feel like, oh, it was just like a little CGI item that was there, kind of like the Infinity Stones. It was more like, wow, this weapon could actually be incredibly powerful. And that was kind of cool to see. It was almost more exciting. It was almost more exciting than the Infinity Gauntlet that we've been chasing after for so long.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to see what we have in store with those.
Yeah. Also, something I liked for the Mandarin is that, like, when he found, like, and he had his family, you didn't see him like, oh, I'm secretly happier when I'm, doing these bad things. Like, he had a genuine believable change of character, and he wanted to
that
become,
surprised me.
Like he actually, like, gave up the rings and everything. Like, he wasn't, like, tempted to use them. You don't see him, like, sneaking out in the middle of the night to put them on and all that. Like, he genuinely changed, and right when, like, he comes back to find his wife dead and stuff, like, that breaks him. And you can kind of understand to a certain extent of where he's coming from and all that.
Exactly. Yeah, that's one piece that's pretty important. That's pretty crucial to the Mandarin's character as well, is that he actually was capable of having that change of heart. It kind of made us feel for him even more. You're on point about that. I think the biggest thing for me with this movie was it just got me really excited to see, like, how crazy the next few steps of the MCU are, because they're showing us now that they're not afraid to let it get complicated, and we're seeing a lot of the more obscure elements from the comics start to come into play, and that's gonna make the stories more unique. It's going to make everything feel like fresh, and I think that's the direction they need to go with the MCU if they don't want things to feel played out.
Yeah.
That's what Shang-Chi had me super excited about. That's what it did really well for me too, was got me excited for the rest of the MCU.
Yeah. It kind of had like a similar but reverse effect for me. It reminded me, because for me, Phase 4 has been pretty disappointing. But that's a different story for another day. But to, like, see this movie, like, still be, like, its own thing and not have to reference and rely on the Infinity Saga, to see it, but remind me of, like, the quality and, like, the like the storytelling and characters, and like obviously none of like very few of the MCU films are like high art or whatever, but like there's definitely some that are like great movies, and I think
Oh,
to
yeah.
see Shang-Chi, be along those lines of being one of like an above average MCU movie for me, which was just a compliment.
Yeah, I love that. I
So
loved that about it. It was like
it reminded
Shang-Chi is one. Sorry.
it reminded me of the old days of the MCU, but
Mm.
while still being its own thing. I think that's why I liked it so much.
Yeah, I felt a good blend of like a lot of thematic elements from the early days of the MCU when we were getting. I really think of when I think of the early days of the MCU, I can't really romanticize Thor that much because that movie was just
Yeah.
kind of ugly and gross. The second one even worse. I think the choice in setting and tone for both of those movies was just horribly done because the Thor comics never looked like that. Like
Yeah.
why were we out in New Mexico? Like why?
Mhm.
But I did love the original Captain America, the first Captain America movie. That is like
Mhm.
a great movie. I love that film. The other one
Yeah.
is Iron Man. Like that is a great film. I love that movie. You see that character actually
Yeah.
go through things and become somebody. And that's what I think Shang-Chi
I'm
did well is too. I put it up there with
mhm.
some of the best origin stories in the MCU.
So speaking of origin stories, I have all the origin stories uh laid out so that way I can kind of see them, and I'll read them off to
That's a
you,
good
and
idea.
like
Yeah,
for
yeah.
you. And for you, I want
Mhm.
you to say whether you liked the origin story, like if you like Shang-Chi more than the movie that I'll say, or if you like the movie.
Mhm.
You just say which one you liked more. So the
Gotcha.
first one, first one, Iron Man.
I can't put Shang-Chi above Iron Man. I love that film. But Shang-Chi, it's up there.
Yeah, it's the same for me. The Incredible Hulk.
Yeah.
You like it more than The Incredible
Shang-Chi
Hulk?
is leagues beyond that movie. Yeah, leagues beyond it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I put Shang-Chi above The Incredible Hulk,
How about
but I
yourself?
still have
Yeah.
I have a soft spot for The Incredible Hulk. Like, I don't know why. I think I just like that version of Bruce Banner and that version of the Hulk way more than Mark Ruffalo.
Mm.
Mark Ruffalo just kind of like,
Now I will say that
I don't know. He's too like wimpy. I think Edward Norton was a much better Banner. I think that's why I have a soft spot for The Incredible Hulk, but Shang-Chi is I like Shang-Chi more.
I honestly would have liked to see James Franco as the Incredible Hulk. That would have been
Yeah, that would have
my
been interesting.
that would have been my change because that would have been a good. I think that would have been a good performance because he would have been able to bring a lot of intensity, but also a lot of the laid back vibe that Bruce Banner usually has. Like,
Mhm.
I think that would have been a good one. But I like Mark Ruffalo just because his character, he just comes on screen and he's just like a teddy bear. I'm just like, oh, Hulk is here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I like him in the first Avengers
I
because
think
he
it's
like
sad
I don't
that
know.
Universal.
He actually feels dangerous in the first Avengers, whereas like all the other like every other movie the Hulk appears like I'm not that scared of him. Versus the Avengers, you're like he's a bomb he's like an instant win, but he could, insta win the enemy or he could insta win your own team and kill you all. So
Yeah, I think that's why Hulk, his character is just like funny. I just love his character now because while we couldn't really get a movie of Hulk because Universal had their thing that they wanted to do with the film rights, and we didn't really get to see Mark Ruffalo have more a solo outing. Probably mostly because of that, I would say. I remember there were times where we were hearing that Marvel wanted to do it. But I thought his story from the first Avengers movie through to Civil War was was he in Civil War?
no, Age of Ultron was the last movie he was in because like Civil War and Ragnarok kind of take around the same place, but
That's right. So the parts of his story that I loved were went from the first Avengers movie all the way to I guess I would say Endgame. You know where we saw him in the first Avengers. We saw him in Age of Ultron. How his the relationship with Black Widow was a little bit strange. I'm going to be honest, but it was an interesting
Yeah.
story beat for both of them.
It was out
I
of
thought
nowhere,
his
but
story,
considering
though,
it was
where
out of
it was
nowhere, it
just
was
like
still done well.
yeah, it was still done well, and it gave more impact to just the repercussions that his lack of control was having on the story. And then when he took that ship out into space, it was kind of just it was like, oh my gosh, what? Like that was a crazy ending to an MCU movie. Honestly, Hulk just like flies out into space. I was just like, what? I was blown away.
Yeah.
And then seeing him come back, seeing him become Professor Hulk. I mean, seeing him in Ragnarok, where his character we actually got to see him like almost in. That was like a buddy comedy capacity with Thor. I thought that was just a cool path for his character to take. So I've liked Mark Ruffalo just because he's been just so funny throughout all of it. I enjoy watching him. I get the wimpy vibe too, though. So I don't know. What's that? Oh, we have to go through more, don't we? Yeah,
going.
we have more.
I mean, we
stories.
can if we want.
We can. We can stop. I think we both know where we're at on that one.
Yeah. Captain America. Because I'd
say Captain America.
Or you can always say equal. Okay. You want to count Guardians of the Galaxy as an origin story? Because I feel like origin story, I'm thinking of just one person, but
yeah, no, I think Guardians, because that was our first time seeing any of those characters.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll count Guardians of the Galaxy.
I mean, where we can't say Avengers is an origin story, but I mean, in some ways it is. But I wouldn't put it in with what we're our list right now. But Guardians works. I think. Do you agree?
Yeah. In our official rule book that we just made. Oh, Guardians of the Galaxy. Above Shang-Chi, definitely. I think Guardians of the Galaxy is like easily in the top 3 of the MCU.
I was just about to say that's got to be a top 3 MCU movie for me.
Like when I think of the top 3 MCU movies, it's Iron Man, Winter Soldier, Guardians of the Galaxy.
I love that you said Winter Soldier because I absolutely love that Winter Soldier movie. That one was awesome. But my 3 would have to be I gotta say
those aren't Iron my Man. 3, but I'd say like objectively. Simple. Which one?
Objectively, I would say. If I'm going objectively, I would say Iron Man. I would say Iron Man. I always struggle with 2. I'd say Iron Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, and maybe Captain America. I think I'm losing track. Yeah, it would be Civil War actually. Yeah, that's right.
Okay. My top 3 would probably be Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Iron Man, and probably Winter Soldier. Or Guardians of the Galaxy. I like both of the Guardians of the Galaxies like extreme a lot, but I like the second one a little bit more.
I loved the second one, honestly. I like I do like the first. I can't even pick honestly between 1 and 2. I flip flop so much because I loved 2. It just felt like everything we wanted, we got. It felt like we got everything that we wanted. And that movie had super cool. Like I just love the Guardians of the Galaxy movies because they just feel like they're way out into the MCU where any character could come. We could come across any character.
Yeah. All right, so we both rank Guardians of the Galaxy over Shang-Chi.
Yeah, I do.
Ant-Man. I like Shang-Chi more than Ant-Man. Ant-Man's kind of like fluff. Ant-Man to me is like the benchmark for an average Marvel movie, and I think Shang-Chi is above the average line. So I'd pick Shang-Chi.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna get a little bit upset here because I love Ant-Man. All right, I think that movie is so good because they literally had no problem with being given like that one character that everybody was gonna be like, okay, who is this dude? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like it just had so much of its own thing that I really enjoyed Ant-Man. The first night that I rented it on like Amazon or something like that, I literally watched it over twice. I was like, what? I was like 15 or 16. I loved it. And then I will say Ant-Man and the Wasp is honestly better than the first one, Ant-Man. But I wish we could
Really?
count that as, yeah. I'd say Ant-Man and the Wasp is probably one of my favorite. Actually, oh man, that almost makes a run for one of my top three because I love Ant-Man and the Wasp. That movie had me in tears, man. I was hysterical. It was so good. And it was so
I'm
funny. It
actually
was
the
so
opposite.
like,
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
no, go ahead. Go ahead. I want to hear your stance on
Oh,
that.
I was gonna say Ant-Man and the Wasp is actually one of my lower MCU films. It's pretty low for me, if I'm
Oh
being
my
honest.
gosh, man. You hating on Ant-Man so much. He didn't do nothing to you.
I think the first movie's fine, but like I don't know, the second one just has a lot of stuff that like bugs me on a personal level. It's like these little things, but there's just a bunch of them, and they just kind of keep adding up.
Hmm. There was one thing I didn't like about it, and actually, no, there really wasn't anything I didn't like about it. I was gonna say I didn't like the villain, but then I remembered what actually happened with the villain. Oh man, I love that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really excited for the third one because I feel like it's gonna be one of the best movies in Phase 4 until we get to like Guardians and stuff.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that one because I just love how they broke open the quantum realm and everything with Ant-Man and the Wasp and brought in
Mm-hmm.
just so much potential for the other movies.
Very rarely am I rooting for a film to fail. The only films that I root to fail are the live-action Disney remakes, especially Mulan, because I'm not a big fan of people supporting concentration camps. Maybe that's
Oh,
why China doesn't want Shang-Chi playing in theaters, as they're like, oh, we don't want a movie that doesn't film in one of our concentration camps. I'm not sure
yeah,
if you heard about that.
I did hear about
Ugh,
that. What?
yeah. Maybe that's why they don't like
Yeah,
Shang-Chi.
that's pretty disappointing. Yeah, I feel like Marvel kind of took this approach to Shang-Chi, and I feel like they may be doing this with other projects too. I think they're giving people more. Well, I think here's what happened because ever since the end of Phase 3, Kevin Feige was handed the full reins of creative control over the whole story of the MCU and the bigger picture. Right, and
Yeah, plus they acquired all the new characters with
they
the
acquired
Fox
all.
deal.
Yeah, that was the first thing he did. Or wait, was that before or after he got handed the reins?
I think the deal was being worked out, so like it was gonna happen. They just had to work out the logistics of it. So
Yeah, I think Kevin Feige being handed the reins and acquiring Fox were two things that like I literally think they were two exclusively planned things because it was clear that Marvel saw how easily they could consistently produce billions of dollars out of these movies.
yeah,
Yeah, and if they keep, I think it was an amazing move because they admitted something. They said, "Hey, Kevin Feige, the guy that's been taking great care to please the fans and still make critically quality movies, is
that make a ton of
doing a
money.
good job. Yeah, he's doing a
Mm-hmm.
good job. You know what I mean? Even if the movies didn't make record-breaking numbers almost every time the biggest one comes out, like, I mean, we're pretty sure that the new Spider-Man movie is going to break Endgame's records. I'm sure it is.
I don't think it'll break the records, but I think it'll break $1 billion easily.
Honestly, okay. Where did Endgame? Was it Endgame or Infinity War that made the most money? Was it Endgame?
Endgame, yeah.
Yeah. Where did we
Endgame
end
made.
up at?
Let me check. I think last I checked, it was like $3 billion, and I just don't see
Good Lord,
Spider-Man making that much. I think it'll make $1 billion easily. I could even see it making $2 billion, but I
Yeah.
can't see it making
Okay, yeah. If
Uh,
Endgame made 3 billion, then I'm gonna take back my words on that. But
yeah.
I do see this movie being a $2 billion movie, or at least a one and a half. It's if they show us a trailer with all three Spider-Mans, everybody is gonna go see this movie.
Okay, Endgame did not make 3 billion. It made 2,797,501,328 dollars.
Good God, that dwarfs every other movie's record. Like I think
So
the
it
next
was it
highest
was
one is under two.
um
The
the
next
next
high,
highest one is Avatar, which had like I think it was like $50 million short or something. Endgame like barely beat Avatar.
is that actually true?
Yeah.
What? That's
And it
nuts,
was at and it was
man.
and it was after the and it was after oh, I'm trying to think. It was after they re-released it and everything. So,
That's right. Yeah. Oh, that is true. I mean, we do have to keep in mind that Avatar had a re-release that gave it a huge bump in sales.
yeah.
Do you remember that?
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
This is a
I thought
random
that was.
note.
I saw it both times too. Hmm.
Yeah. I have yet
Hmm.
to see the James Cameron Avatar.
What's the random note though?
Oh, I'm just looking at box office records for like 2021, and I just think it's funny that Godzilla vs. Kong beat out Black Widow. I know Black Widow had a premiere release, but still, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, that movie deserves more recognition. Godzilla versus Kong was a good one. It was
Yeah, it was the right movie for the right time. Cause like
yeah,
just when the theaters are opening up, everyone like just needs like a big dumb fun movie.
exactly.
Like obviously my channel is like, I don't want to just talk about Godzilla, but Godzilla like is a heavy focus of it. So, like I'll be the first one to admit it is not a good movie, but it is a ton of fun. So,
Yeah, I think there's just it's just so hard to make a good monster movie, man. It really is. I think that's
yeah.
what's been proven to us over all the because you've been a big fan of the MonsterVerse movies the whole time. I have been less excited about them, but honestly, I think
Yeah.
the new MonsterVerse movies, I think they're just super cool. Like you watch them and you're just like, this is like exactly what these monster movies should be. You know what I mean? Like even if they're not the
Mhm.
greatest movies, you just sit there and watch them and you're just like, okay, I feel like I'm 10 again.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Like
I loved that
like
about Godzilla
go
versus Kong.
big. Yeah, go big, go epic.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we should probably continue ranking the MCU.
Oh my gosh!
Gotta
Okay,
love
yeah.
how
What's our next?
we're like talking everything about but Shang-Chi. The next one is Doctor Strange.
Okay. All right. Doctor Strange. That's a hard one. Honestly, I'd say Doctor Strange and Shang-Chi are equal because I think they're both really good.
Yeah,
The only reason I wouldn't say Doctor Strange is above it is because Doctor Strange kind of got like, the ending was just not the best.
yeah. Yeah, it's kind of tough for me for that one. I'll put it equal for now, but I could probably flip-flop either one.
I
Honestly.
honestly might even say that I'm gonna actually say it now. I honestly think Shang-Chi might have been better.
Yeah. For me, it's flip-flop. I could be persuaded probably either way, I think.
Yeah, I think we can both agree though. They're both pretty good, pretty unique origin stories in the MCU.
Yeah.
I thought.
All right, the
I
next
really
one.
loved. Oh yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No, what I was gonna say is about Doctor Strange that I loved is their ability to make him actually feel like he was the Sorcerer Supreme, because that's such a big deal in the comic books, and his character is just like it's so important for anything that happens in the MCU if they are gonna have Doctor Strange around. And I just thought that it was awesome that they gave his story just such a good path for us to see, okay, this is how Doctor Strange out. Because watch, in about 5 years, we'll look back from where we are in the MCU then. We'll look at Doctor Strange's origin and we'll be like, dang, he's come so far. It's going to be like an Iron Man moment. So honestly, a lot of people say like this and that about the new MCU. I think Doctor Strange is like Iron Man's kind of replacement in the MCU.
Yeah.
In terms of his character.
except acting wildly irresponsibly in the Nope Far From Home trailer.
Yeah, I'm very scared about that movie if that's actually what's happening. I can't see Doctor Strange allowing that. Oh my goodness. I think
maybe we just don't see the scene yet where Peter pulls a gun and holds it to Doctor Strange's head. They just CGI'd that part out. And it's Peter like, come on, man! Rewrite the universe! Make everyone forget about me! And then Doctor Strange is like, alright, everyone forget about you. And he'll be like, oh, wait, what?
I also think it's interesting because that is right. I think it's interesting too, though, because we are still being given Doctor Strange as a new character, and I honestly think that Multiverse of Madness, I think they're setting that up to be a really everything is leading towards Multiverse of Madness right now. If you haven't noticed, like there hasn't, we saw heavy Doctor Strange influence in this movie, and I think it wasn't even just because it was easy for them to put Wong in the movie. I think it was more so because I think we're gonna find out that Wong has been watching this stuff for a while, because that's kind of what we found out at the end. And I think maybe Wong was in this story for that reason, and that's why, like, I think the only way that they could get away with that is if they show us that Doctor Strange is still the early Sorcerer Supreme, that like if he hasn't developed as much in the time that we haven't seen him, where he's still making those stupid decisions that are like literally world catastrophic. Because he does that several times. He does that several times in the comics, and he seriously messes things up.
Yeah. All right. Next origin story. This one's an easy one for me. Spider-Man: Homecoming. Shang-Chi's way better than Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one. I did not really like Spider-Man: Homecoming. That was not a good Spider-Man movie. Like it was. That was
pretty
just such
mixed
a
on
movie.
Yeah.
I love him.
I like Far From Home. I'm kind of mixed on Tom Holland as Spider-Man. Like, I don't hate him like some people do, but I don't love him.
I just think it's so funny.
Like, he's just kind of. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, have you ever seen Anthony Mackie or any of the other cast members kind of like kind of shade Tom Holland a little bit?
Yes,
kind of funny
my
because
sister is obsessed with Tom Holland, so she tells me all about it.
Yeah, Anthony Mackie is he's like, so we're filming with Robert Downey Jr., right? And you go over to try and see Tom, and he's got 5 trailers parked all in a circle, and there's somebody bringing him a sandwich. And then you go over to Robert Downey Jr., you just knock on his trailer, and he opens up the door. I thought it was just so funny. It's like, it's just so funny how Spider-Man always has that effect on the culture. Like, I think it was easy to overlook how Homecoming wasn't really. I think the biggest problem is that it really wasn't much of a Spider-Man origin story, more as it was just like, let's give Spider-Man a movie that he can start having his own movies. I loved.
It was more of an Iron Man Jr. origin story.
And I really loved that. I really loved Far From Home. I'm more excited to see the next 2 Spider-Man movies than I was about the last 2, though, because I always knew the second 2 were probably gonna be better, and they're planning on making 6 of them, aren't they?
I don't know. I'll actually take something back about what I said about Ant-Man, because I think Ant-Man is better than Homecoming by a good margin. So I'll say Homecoming is like the base standard for an average MCU film.
I would say that too. Yeah.
All right.
I would say that. I would definitely say that too.
Mm-hmm. All right, we got 2 more origin stories, and then I gotta go for a quick second, and I can come back. If that sounds good.
All right.
All right. So we'll just nail these ones down pretty quickly. We'll do the easy one first, because I think we'll both say Shang-Chi is better than Captain Marvel.
Yeah, we're gonna say that.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think, like, Captain Marvel isn't terrible, it's just really boring to me. It's the most boring out of all the MCU films.
I was really excited for it too, and I was super bored.
I had low standards for it, and I was still bored watching it.
That's so sad. That's so sad.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool bringing in Monica and Maria Rambeau, though, because I like Photon, and I like that story. I like those characters. I think have you seen WandaVision?
Unfortunately, yeah.
I really liked Monica Rambeau in that show, honestly.
I could not tell you her personality, so I can't say if I liked her or disliked. Actually, I didn't like her because of what she says at the end. She's like, "Oh yeah, if I had the powers that you had, I totally would have held a town hostage, and to bring back my mom." I actually have a video planned for one.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of WandaVision. I just thought it was cool. Like, it was a cool show to watch. I really didn't like WandaVision, to be honest, at all, though. I was never that excited for it, and then I kind of liked seeing, like, Vision again. But then I just liked where they put their characters at the end of the show. I didn't like anything that happened during, though.
I was digging it. It was kind of like fluff at the beginning, like the first 3 episodes, aside from like seeing them in the neat television settings. I was like, it's like fluff. There was a couple, like the episode where it goes into her backstory. I like that. But the final episode for me, like, it just all falls apart. And when you find out, like, what she's doing, and that she's like, oh yeah, and then the story tries to portray her as the good guy.
Yeah,
I have a whole video dedicated to WandaVision. And so
everybody be ready. He's about to tear that show apart. I hope you're not a fan.
Oh, you have no idea.
All you WandaVision fans, get ready.
If WandaVision was a dog and I were a veterinarian and I were fixing WandaVision, I'd get a pair of rusty pliers and tie him to a horse and smack the horse's butt to rip off the balls of WandaVision. That's what I would do to WandaVision. All right, final one. I think this one, just because they are similar, Black Panther. I like Shang-Chi more than Black Panther.
I put them equally. I love both.
If you had to pick.
If I had to pick?
Yeah, gun to your head. You can change, but like in the moment, I'm just curious.
If I had to pick, I'd go Black Panther.
You'd go Black Panther.
Yeah, there are very few scenes in that movie in the whole MCU that will beat Black Panther coming back and oh man, they're challenging Killmonger and just everything that, like, oh man, it was just that first scene with the fight in the ring, like it was Black Panther. I thought was awesome. Now, it's so hard for me to choose though, because there are complaints that I have with Black Panther too. I thought some of the plot was just like they kind of bulldozed over it because they were so excited to do the
CGI was atrocious at the ending.
Yeah, it was terrible.
Yeah.
What I did like though, I thought Wakanda was done super well, and it just it's so sad because I was so excited to see more of Chadwick Boseman's Black Panther. Just his character has such a cool story. Rest in peace, man. His character has. Oh gosh, man! I waited for like my whole childhood to see Black Panther come to life, and Chadwick Boseman was he just had so much grace on screen, man. It was crazy.
I actually have a fact for you that I can share with you about that concerning Chadwick Boseman's future as Black Panther that was planned. So, but I just gotta go. I'll be right back. I'm just gonna leave it recording, and I could just cut it out. So. I don't know. Feel free to say what you want. You can talk to the audience. I'll let you know when I'm back.
All right, Kevin.
All right. Be back.
Is there?
All right, I'm back.
Welcome back, sir.
Cool. What
Honestly,
terrible things have you scarred the people with?
Oh man, I was silent the whole time, my friend. I think I think Black Panther and Shang-Chi are just like they're so comparable.
Yeah. Oh, so I found out, like right when Chadwick Boseman passed away, that apparently the MCU, because you know how I was talking about like how it just feels like they're replacing, like characters with like female counterparts for like diversity points and stuff.
Yes, sir.
Like I was telling, like when we saw the James Bond trailer, and I was telling you about how they're just how they're planning to replace James Bond. What?
Yeah.
So turns out they were actually planning.
Sorry.
They were actually planning to do that with Chadwick Boseman. They were just going to replace him with Shuri, and Chadwick Boseman wasn't very happy about it. So, yeah.
Oh my gosh!
I wasn't
planning on doing that while he was alive.
Yeah, like I think he still would have been in Black Panther 2, but like they were already like gonna phase him out. At least there was like reports of that, and like Chadwick Boseman kind of confirmed it. So, like he wasn't very happy about it either. So,
that's crazy, dude. I never heard any of that.
Yeah. Because we all know that a 90-pound stick is going to be able to take down people.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I wasn't...
Cause Shuri's a twig.
Yeah. She really is, man. Is she... I mean, I think she's a cool character, though, because she's super smart and funny. So I'd be excited to see her. She gets a lot of flack, honestly. I thought they were going to use her to replace Iron Man, but when I heard about the Ironheart show, that kind of gave me a breath of fresh air there.
Yeah, they're going to replace Iron Man with Ironheart instead.
Yeah, I'm not very excited for any of that.
Yeah. That's why Shang-Chi's so great. He's not replacing anyone. He's his own thing. That's the moral of the story, everyone. He's not trying to replace Doctor Strange or Wong or Peter Quill or Captain Marvel. He's just his own thing.
Yeah, honestly. Shang-Chi, are we moving away from it now, or are we still... Do you still have any thoughts to put out to the people about it?
Nothing that I can really think of. Oh, other than that, like, compared to Harvey Weinstein, the Mandarin, I know we already, like, talked about how great the Mandarin was, but, man, just compared to Harvey Weinstein in Black Widow, he's, ugh. It's like eating a piece of garbage, and then having like the best meal, or maybe not the best meal, but like a 5-star meal after, and like it just tastes all the better.
Yeah, it honestly that's one of the things that made Shang-Chi a lot sweeter for me too. And it almost makes me feel like they wanted Black Widow to fail so that they could make Shang-Chi succeed. I don't know. Kind of funny
weird.
because you think Marvel would
go ahead.
know you would think Marvel already knew that they were probably not going to have much more use for Black Widow. So use her movie to set up another character. Yeah, use her movie to set up another character and then let it be a little bit of a disappointment. So now that when people say Shang-Chi, it's even better because that almost
especially
seems like we were talking conspiracy before we saw the movie. That's my conspiracy now that I've seen it.
Yeah, and that's why I'm really confused on why Marvel did the things they did, because it just doesn't make sense. Like, I'd say Shang-Chi is definitely one of the better MCU films and stuff. I would too. Me personally, I wouldn't call it great, but I'd say it's definitely one of the better ones. Like, I thoroughly enjoyed it. So I'm confused on why there was... Huh?
How many MCU movies are there?
Oh, I think there's like 20-something. I don't know. Are you counting the shows? I count the shows, but...
I count the shows as like standalone properties. Yeah, I just kind of count them as like a movie.
Yeah, that's what I do. Except maybe What If, because it doesn't really have like any relevance as we know of to the series.
I think the animated stuff is going to end up going into its own category because they're going to want. I know that Disney is now going to start introducing more animated stuff, so that they can make space to also have the opposite of the spectrum, which is the R-rated stuff. We already see that Deadpool is getting a script for them. See that Ryan Reynolds and I forget the director. Ryan Reynolds and the director of Deadpool 2 are working on. So I'm excited to see that. And I heard James Gunn is going to be involved too, which makes me super excited.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they'll be in good hands. I really hope they make a joke about like Deadpool having like the first official F-bomb in the MCU.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for the Mickey Mouse jokes.
Yes, and the China jokes, the Mickey Mouse jokes, the MCU jokes, and all that. All the
Disney
jokes.
World jokes. Oh my god. Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm sure you've seen Deadpool 1 and 2.
I have not actually.
Yeah. Those what? Okay, honestly, those are the best X-Men movies, in my opinion.
Better than Logan?
Yeah. Actually, I'd say Logan and Deadpool 1 are equal films for me. And Deadpool 1 is it's one of my favorite movies of all time, man. It's that good.
We're so old that we remember seeing the test footage. I remember seeing the test footage. Like, that's how old I am. It actually wasn't even that long ago. I just feel old watching it. We're so old that we remember when Miles Morales was created.
Oh man, I guess that's I still remember when Miles Morales was never even a Spider-Man.
Yeah, when I remember because I was at a book fair and the teacher was like, "All right, there's this new Spider-Man comic." And I'm like, "Okay, I like Spider-Man, Marvel Spider-Man, he's pretty cool." And they're like, "Spider-Man dies," and I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "But another spider bites someone else." And like, even as a kid, I think in like 3rd or 4th grade, I'm like, that's so stupid. And apparently a lot of people agreed, because Miles Morales was not as beloved as he is now. When he first came out, he was pretty disliked, but then the comics started kind of changing him and writing him better, and then Spider-Verse came out, of course, and that basically changed everything.
You have to keep in mind that as a comic book fan, if you've read Spider-Man for years, all of a sudden he gets killed and just some kid just replaces him. everybody was going to
Yeah.
be mad about that.
Yeah.
It was the same. It was the same concept when they brought in Jason Todd as Robin. It was super abrupt,
Yeah.
out of nowhere. They're just like, okay, guess what, everybody? The first Robin, well, he's gone. He's going to be somebody different now. So we have this Robin that none of you like. Enjoy.
Yeah.
I remember reading it as a kid. I was just like, it wasn't exactly new at the time, but it was new to me because I read probably from the beginning of the 90s of Batman comics up until like 2010 era when they started to get kind of just kind of gross. That was just a weird time for comics in general. So it is actually kind of cool to see, like, that's the era that Shang-Chi came out of. He's not really much of an OG Marvel character.
No,
And,
apparently he was
I think
created
it's cool
just
to
for
see,
like on
like-
the hype of Jackie Chan films and stuff and Bruce Lee. Like that was literally the only reason why he was put in the Marvel comics.
Honestly.
So again, class, we're gonna refer to the moral of the story. It evolved to be its own thing. I feel like those are the best MCU films. The ones that aren't necessarily, I mean, Infinity War, like I think Infinity War is also one of the top MCU films. But like I feel like for the most part the best MCU films are the ones that are like kind of doing their own thing.
Yeah, that's what I was even. We're agreeing on that because I was even saying that when we saw Shang-Chi. I was like, I have kind of I told you I have the Martin Scorsese approach where I think MCU movies are in a different class of films. Like I don't really bring them up in conversation with with normal movies, just for numerous purposes because they're all part of a bigger picture. Yeah, I think that's how you should look at them because it's like nobody's ever done anything like that with movies to create that grand of a cohesive story. We still haven't seen too many major plot holes to this day, and it's just like it's cool to
except
see
the ones
that.
created by the new movies.
I love the bigger picture that they paint, but oh my gosh, yeah, I think they did a few patches that they knew that they had to do. I think it's going to be over, honestly, after Spider-Man, though. Like, and I think, the best movies.
I hope
MCU,
so.
My favorite movies in the MCU are the ones that are literally a good movie. Yeah, I think the ones that I love the most are the ones where it's a great standalone movie and it's a great MCU, character movie or whatever. Shang-Chi did that super well. It was like, I think Shang-Chi's character was just done so well, like so flawed. Like he is a real character. You know what I mean? Like he felt like a real person.
The one character that I didn't really care for in the movie was his sister. She just kind of felt like she was there to just be like better than Shang-Chi at everything, and that was it. Yeah,
she was just kind of. It almost seemed like his sister was just there to like as more guilt for the character and just to ground him into the story more. I think she was definitely necessary, but like I definitely still didn't really care too much about her story. Plus, she was annoying.
Yeah, she's like, "Oh, I'm better than you."
Yeah,
like,
she was like, "Oh,
Shang-Chi?
You did that."
Well, I can do this, but I can do it in like half the time or whatever.
Oh my gosh, yeah, she was. Yeah, yeah. There were some story beats that kind of felt basic too. Like they went to the underground fight ring, and then his sister's there, and then it turns out his sister runs the fight ring. But I don't know. It gave like, okay, I can't walk away from that movie as excited for his sister as I am to see Shang-Chi do things in the MCU. So that's my real thing about his sister, and I think maybe they meant to do it that way.
I could give a crap about his sister, and I don't get people that are like saying like they're like, oh, she was like the best part of the movie, and like I can't wait to see more of her. Like I wish she had more screen time. I'm like, really? Like the sister was your favorite part?
Yeah, I can't really agree with those folks about that one.
Yeah,
I can't. That's like, oh, I really loved Aquafina's character. I'm so excited to see what she does in the MCU.
Yeah.
You know, like his
Like I
girlfriend
feel
in
like
the
yeah.
movie.
Not as bad as I thought she was gonna be. The trailers did not do her very well.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Which that's a good thing.
Yeah,
I'd rather have her be annoying in the trailers than annoying in the movie.
Absolutely. Yeah, she was honestly like she was a cool character to watch. Like I thought it was super funny when she just like grabbed the bow and then she's like running out there and they're just like, "Hey, don't die." And she just like mobs out there with the bow anyways. And I liked that she got her moment where she shot the one arrow that, you know, hit the dragon in the right spot and everything like that. So I think it's going to be just funny because every time we see Shang-Chi and like, sorry.
Oh, go ahead. I'll finish.
I think it's going to be super funny because every time that we see Shang-Chi come around, she's going to be just like kind of there and she'll just do something funny and it's just a new character that was brought in that we can enjoy watching, you know, whereas like, honestly, I personally don't like Captain Marvel as a character. I'm personally not too excited for some of the new superheroes that they're bringing in. And
to be fair, I don't think anyone but Twitter is excited for Captain Marvel. I don't know many people that are excited for Captain Marvel as a character.
Oh man, yeah.
Both as a character and because, you know, Brie Larson is a strong, independent woman.
Yeah, it sucks too because they're just about to replace her with Nova. You know they're bringing in Nova, and
well, they're gonna bring in Nova, but I don't think they're gonna replace him because Kevin Feige has said that she's gonna be the new face of the MCU. You know, like how Iron Man was the face of the MCU. They're like, oh yeah, Captain Marvel's the new face of the MCU.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gonna end up being Doctor Strange. They're not going to let that happen once they realize how much people hate Captain Marvel. Watch the second movie, and well, it'll be because Marvel does a lot of stuff to test stuff.
Yeah, at the very least, the official face of the MCU may be Captain Marvel, but in terms of like moviegoers and fans, it's probably going to be like Doctor Strange or Spider-Man.
Yeah,
I think it could have been Chadwick Boseman, but obviously, you know, passed away. So
I really thought so too. I really thought Chadwick Boseman, I really thought Black Panther, Doctor Strange, and Spider-Man were just going to be like, they were going to give so much life to the MCU. And I think that's why Marvel kind of went even a little bit more in on teaming up Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, is because I don't even know who came up with that idea to throw them together, but I like it, honestly. I do.
Yeah. So I want to talk about two more things them together. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just want to talk about like two more little things, and we can kind of wrap it up and stuff. If that sounds good to you.
Let's go. All
right.
Let's go.
So the one issue that I had with Aquafina and like shooting the arrow, my issue isn't that she hit the target, because like I'm totally fine with that. But like how one arrow, and I get that it's like a dragon scale arrow, which my other point is that dragon scale is essentially just a different vibranium with like a different coat of paint. Indestructible, practically. Super powerful and all that. Lighter than steel. Like when I saw the dragon scale stuff, and they're like, oh, it's lighter than steel, but 10 times stronger or whatever. I'm like, oh, so it's just vibranium.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Funny. Oh yeah, that's right. Did they say something like that in the movie about the dragon scale stuff? Oh, okay, I get it. They can work it like a metal, basically, can't they?
Yeah. As long as... At least dragon scales, kind of like lizard scales, at least you can actually grind that up and, like, make medicine. Like, but how does vibranium... You could just put that in a person's spine, and you're like, oh, he's okay now. That's one of the problems I have with Black Panther is that like vibranium is literally magic.
Oh
in
yeah,
that movie.
Yeah,
and it does whatever the plot needs it to be.
Yeah, that's kind of how it was in the comics too. Though they were sued. Once Black Panther became involved with the vibranium thing, which was like, it was like we saw vibranium a little bit, and then all of a sudden there's a whole city with this freaking Black Panther guy who's been running across the whole world, like doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Like, because the story that how we discovered Black Panther was he was sneaking out of Wakanda to help people, and I think he lost vibranium or something, and the X-Men found it, and then he met Storm and da 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 da. But I thought
they
that, it was cool to see like vibranium. They did the vibranium swapperoo.
He gave her a nice vibranium dildo,
but I thought,
and she was like, or a nice vibranium vibrator. Stores up kinetic energy for the ultimate vibration. Just
he just
I can't wait till people get to that portion.
He just gives her a tube of vibranium. He sets it into her hand and immediately turns into a dildo. He's like, it's like, what's on your mind, Storm?
It takes whatever the user desires most at the moment.
He's like, it does whatever it's vibranium, does whatever the plot wants it to. It turns into a dildo.
It turns into a dildo, and then she's like, wait, I can do better, and turns into a vibrator. And then once she's done with that before they do the deed, she turns it into a condom, so it's like a vibranium condom with 100% effectiveness.
Oh my god.
And they're like, no surprises here.
Wolverine is just walking out of the theater scarred for his life.
I want to see that MCU movie get made. I want to see Shuri become a criminal emperor or empress on the black market as she sells vibranium vibrators to the women of the world. And she has to take on the entire Avengers. But she slowly wins over all the female Avengers by giving them free vibranium vibrators.
And then a new king comes out and she teams up with the 10 rings. She teams up with the 10 rings to give everybody 10 rings themed shock collars.
The 10 cock rings. Now that we're thinking, okay, we can do another video, but I'm literally thinking of like all these like sex related products that you could do using like superpowers and stuff, like for erectile dysfunction, like gamma radiation or something like that.
Oh
so then you're like Hulk, your penis becomes like the size of Hulk's and like all green and veiny and stuff.
Buddy, you gotta.
I don't care. I'm already demonetized.
This needs to be like we need to somehow work this into one of our next like podcast sessions or something like this, man. That's so fun.
Yeah, that's what we'll call it. We'll call it like Marvel sex items.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, that's so.
I won't give away all my ideas because I'll make a list and then we can talk about it next time.
That's awesome.
Next time on the podcast.
What if Wolverine had vibranium in his butthole? Just like,
just tightens it like. What if he shot blades out of his penis instead?
Okay. Oh gosh. Okay. What if Hulk had Hulk hands? You know the foam Hulk hands.
Yeah.
If he has a pair of foam Hulk hands on his Hulk hand.
This is our version of what if.
What if?
What if Marvel's sex on? Yeah, that's what it'll be. Copyright, you can't copy it, but Marvel's what if sex items were specifically designed by Marvel heroes.
Marvel hits you up. They're like, we have a very interesting director who would like to hear some more of your ideas. And you're like, oh my gosh, what is happening?
We become like millionaires or whatever, and then people are like, "So how'd you make your money?" You're like, "Well, you see, I inspired the idea of the Marvel porno series," and they're like, "The what?" Be like, "It's a long story." Just like your
Plus.
penis can be long with Hulk's new gamma radiation erectile fixer-upper. Having problems in bed? Are you having banners in bed? We'll take a little gamma radiation and you'll be hulking out all over your girl.
They put it on Disney Plus. I'm like, wow, this was unexpected. Oh gosh. Oh goodness.
Okay,
All right,
okay.
buddy. I had another call on the line, so I think are we good to wrap this one?
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's a pretty high note to end on.
I think that's a good one to end it on. Next time on the podcast, we talk about we talk about why Cyclops is afraid of intimacy.
He's just afraid he'll get his stuff all over his girlfriend in bed. You see, once he just opens his eyes, it just can't stop coming.
He's afraid of what she might see if she looks into his eye. Oh my gosh! All right, buddy, I'm gonna grab this other call, man. Have a good night, though, and text me about the Text me when you're working on this or something, man.
Yeah, definitely. All right, see you later.
All right, buddy. Have a good night, man. See you later.
You as well.